For 900 years, the galaxy had known peace. Not real peace born from trust, but a quiet, controlled peace enforced by the Galactic Empire. Wars had ended. Borders had frozen. Old enemies were forced to sit at the same table. The Empire called it harmony. Most species called it survival. Humanity was one of the newest members of this peaceful galaxy. Compared to ancient star empires, humans were young, small, and quiet. They did not conquer worlds. They did not threaten neighbors. They negotiated. They waited. They listened. Because of this, the galaxy believed humans were harmless. That belief brought General Alera Vance to the center of the Imperial Council chamber. The chamber was massive, carved from silver metal and dark stone. Cold blue lights flowed along the walls like slow rivers. At the center stood a circular table, surrounded by the leaders of the Galactic Empire. Tall, pale, calm, powerful, and kneeling on the polished floor, before them was one human woman. General Alera Vance wore a white ceremonial uniform. Gold markings rested on her shoulders and sleeves, symbols of rank and service. Her hands were empty. Her posture was straight. Her face was calm. She had come to renew the peace treaty. For 900 years, this treaty had prevented galaxy-wide war. Every century, it was renewed as a symbol of unity. This time, the Empire insisted a human must kneel while signing it. A reminder, they said. Alera did not argue. She believed peace was worth pride. The alien council watched her closely. Some leaned back in their seats. Others studied her like a weak animal. To them, she was not a threat. She was proof that humans knew their place. One counselor finally spoke. "Human General," the alien said, voice smooth and cold. "You understand why the ceremony is different?" "Yes," Alera replied. "You understand why you kneel?" "Yes." "And you understand what happens if humanity forgets who maintains peace?" Alera lifted her eyes. Not in fear, not in anger, only in clarity. "I understand," she said. That answer displeased them. The Empire wanted submission. They wanted shaking voices and lowered heads. They wanted to feel powerful. Alera gave them none of that. Silence filled the chamber. Outside the station, human escort ships waited quietly. No weapons were armed. No engines were warm. Humans trusted treaties. That was their weakness. Or so the Empire believed. One counselor stood. He moved slowly, deliberately, so all could see him. In his hand was a compact energy weapon. Ceremonial, but real. "This is a symbol," he said. "A reminder of consequence." The other counselors did not object. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries. No species had ever dared challenge them in this chamber. The weapon raised. Alera did not move. She did not beg. She did not scream. The weapon fired. The sound was sharp and loud, echoing to the chamber like thunder. Energy struck Alera's chest. Her body jerked as blood spread across her white uniform. She collapsed to one knee, then both. The chamber went silent. No alarms. No panic. The counselors watched carefully, expecting fear, expecting chaos, expecting the humans outside to react. Nothing happened. Alera did not fall forward. She did not cry out. Her hands pressed against the floor as blood dripped down, staining the polished surface red. Slowly, she lifted her head. Her face was pale. Her breath was shallow, but her eyes were steady. One counselor shifted uncomfortably. Another frowned. This was not the reaction they expected. Medical drones moved forward, confused but obeying protocol. As they worked to keep her alive, the Empire spoke again. "This was an accident," the lead counselor said. "The treaty remains." Alera spoke. Her voice was weak but clear. "No." The word stopped them. "No," she repeated. "The treaty ended when you pulled the trigger." The counselors exchanged looks. Outside the station, human sensors registered the weapon discharge. The data was sent instantly across human networks. On distant worlds, ancient systems awakened. Deep in human space, sealed vaults opened. Fleets long hidden powered on. Command protocols that had not been used in centuries came alive. Humans had never broken the peace, but they had prepared for the day someone else would. A small human ship transmitted a message from the station. Only 3 words. Treaty is broken. Back in the chamber, the Empire realized something was wrong. The human general was dying, and yet the room felt colder, heavier, as if the galaxy itself had noticed what had just happened. The Galactic Empire believed they had punished a weak species. They believed the peace would continue. They believed wrong, because the shot they fired did not end a human life. It ended 900 years of peace, and what followed would change the galaxy forever. The silence after the shot was heavier than the sound itself. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, no one moved. The air felt thick, as if the station itself was holding its breath. The alien counselor stared at the wounded human general on the floor, waiting for something to happen. Screaming, crying, chaos. None of it came. General Alara Vance remained on her knees, supported by one trembling arm. Blood spread across the floor beneath her, dark and slow. Medical drones hovered around her chest, sealing wounds, pushing energy into her failing body. She did not look at them. She looked at the council. The lead counselor cleared his throat. This was not the intention, he said. The treaty... You broke it, Alara said quietly. Her voice was weak, but every word landed with weight. The treaty existed because both sides agreed, she continued. You chose violence. That choice cannot be undone. The counselors shifted in their seats. One tapped long fingers against the table. Another folded his arms, annoyed more than afraid. You exaggerate, one said. Human emotions cloud judgment. Alara almost smiled. Outside the station, the human escort fleet remained still. From the Empire's point of view, nothing had changed. No weapons powered up. No shields flared. No emergency transmissions flooded the void. The Empire took this as confirmation. Humans were weak. They always reacted late. But deep inside human space, something very different was happening. Across dozens of star systems, quiet signals activated. They were old signals, buried under layers of peaceful systems. Signals designed not for war, but for betrayal. Human commanders woke in the middle of their rest cycles. Red lights filled silent command rooms. Ancient symbols appeared on screens that had not displayed them in centuries. Treaty failure confirmed. No panic followed. Only calm. Orders moved through human space faster than light. Fleets that were never meant to be seen began to move. Ships designed not for display, but for ending wars before they spread. Humanity did not shout. Humanity prepared. Back in the council chamber, General Vance's breathing grew slower. The medical drones worked harder, injecting stabilizers and sealing damaged tissue. She felt cold, but her mind remained clear. She thought of Earth, of quiet cities under blue skies, of children who had never known war, of 900 years of peace paid for with patience. She opened her eyes again. You think nothing will happen, she said. The lead counselor leaned forward. You are in no position to make threats. I am not making one, Alara replied. I am explaining consequences. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. For the first time, the Empire felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty. The counselors had ruled through fear for centuries. Every species they had crushed reacted the same way. Panic first, resistance second, collapse third. Humans were doing none of that. No demands. No protests. No begging. Only silence. A junior officer entered the chamber, hesitating. He whispered something to one of the counselors. The counselor's eyes widened slightly before he hit it. What is it? The lead counselor asked sharply. Nothing. The officer replied too quickly. Alara noticed. She noticed everything. You are receiving reports, she said. You just do not understand them yet. The counselors ignored her, but tension filled the room. Minutes passed. Then an alert sounded softly. One of the Empire's outer monitoring stations had gone dark. Not destroyed. Disconnected. This is irrelevant, the lead counselor said. Proceed with the ceremony. The words sounded forced. The medical drones finished stabilizing Alara. She was alive for now. 2 guards moved toward her, preparing to remove her from the chamber. "Stop," Alara said. They hesitated, confused by the command. "You may kill me," she continued, "or imprison me. It will not change what is coming." "And what is coming?" a counselor asked. Alara met his eyes. "Humanity no longer believes in your peace." Another alert sounded. Then another. Border systems reported human ships withdrawing from joint patrols. Trade routes shut down without explanation. Diplomatic channels went silent. The galaxy had grown used to humans being everywhere. Now they were nowhere, and that absence felt dangerous. For the first time since the Empire's rise, fear crept into the chamber. Not loud fear, quiet fear, the kind that grows slowly and eats from the inside. The lead counselor stood abruptly. "You will be detained," he said. "This situation will be reviewed." Alara nodded once. "As you wish," she said. "Just remember, you fired first." As guards lifted her, another message reached the council table. A simple transmission, broadcast across multiple systems. No threat, no insult, just words. "For 900 years, we chose restraint." The message cut off before finishing. The Empire did not know what came next, but every instinct they had screamed the same truth. They had not silenced humanity. They had awakened it, and the silence after the gunfire was only the beginning. The Galactic Empire had always believed it understood time. They ruled for centuries. They planned in decades. They thought in long cycles of control and obedience. To them, patience meant waiting until others gave up. Humans had a different meaning for patience. General Alara Vance was moved from the council chamber to a sealed medical wing deep inside the station. Transparent walls surrounded her bed. Guards stood outside at all hours. The Empire called it protection. In truth, it was containment. Alara drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she woke, she felt weaker, but her mind stayed sharp. She listened to the distant hum of the station. She watched reflections of alien guards in the glass. She waited. Far away, human space was changing. Human worlds did not panic. Cities did not riot. News channels did not scream for revenge. Instead, governments went silent. Old leaders stepped aside. New councils formed behind closed doors. Archives long ignored were opened. Inside them were records of old wars, early defeats, and painful lessons humanity had learned before reaching the stars. One lesson stood above all others. Never fight angry. Fight prepared. Human fleets moved slowly, carefully. Ships emerged from deep storage, their hulls dark and scarred by age. These were not parade ships. They were not symbols. They were tools. At the same time, human diplomats vanished from alien space. Messages went unanswered. Calls returned nothing but static. The galaxy noticed. Smaller species whispered to each other. Traders rerouted their paths. Ancient races watched human borders with growing concern. Something was happening. Back on the Imperial Station, the council met again. This time, the room felt smaller. Reports filled the air. Human withdrawal from shared systems. Human control over key supply routes. Human fleets spotted at extreme range, always silent, always distant. "They are isolating themselves," one counselor said. Fear response. The lead counselor nodded. "They will return. They always do." But doubt had entered his voice. Another counselor leaned forward. "What if this is not fear?" Silence followed. General Vance was brought before them again days later. She walked slowly, supported by medical braces. Her white uniform had been replaced by a simple gray garment. Still, she stood tall. "You continue to escalate," the lead counselor said. "Human movements are being noticed." "They are meant to be noticed," Alara replied calmly. "You think to intimidate us?" "No," she said. "We are removing uncertainty." The council did not like that answer. "You forget your position," another counselor snapped. "You are a guest, a wounded one." Alara met his gaze. "I am a witness," she said, "and history listens to witnesses." The Empire dismissed her words as human drama. That night, The first real shock arrived. A core Imperial listening post vanished. No explosion. No debris. No distress call. One moment it existed. The next it did not. Panic did not spread. Confusion did. The Empire searched for signs of attack. There were none. No energy traces. No weapon signatures. It was as if the station had simply stopped being there. Human space remained silent. The next day, another post disappeared. Then another, each time closer to Imperial territory. The Council gathered again, fear now impossible to hide. This is impossible, one counselor said. No species has this capability. They do, another replied quietly. They always did. General Vance watched them from her confinement. She said nothing. She did not need to. Across the galaxy, human ships began to appear, not in battle formations, but in quiet lines at system edges. They did not fire. They did not chase. They watched. The message humanity finally sent was simple and short, broadcast across open channels. We are done waiting. That was all. No threats. No demands. That frightened the galaxy more than any war cry. Smaller empires began to pull away from the Galactic Empire. Defense treaties were paused. Trade agreements quietly expired. The Empire stood alone. Still, pride ruled them. The lead counselor ordered a show of force. A large Imperial fleet was sent toward a human border system. Weapons were powered. Shields raised. Human ships waited. They did not move. When an Imperial fleet crossed the invisible line, every human ship vanished from sensors. Then the Imperial fleet lost power. All of it. Engines dead. Weapons offline. Communication silent. Human ships reappeared. Behind them, no shots were fired. A message played across Imperial channels. This is restraint. The fleet was released hours later, unharmed but humiliated. The Galactic Empire had never been embarrassed like this. Back in the medical wing, Elara finally allowed herself to rest. Her warning had been heard, even if not accepted. She knew what came next. Human patience had ended. What followed would not be fast. It would be careful. It would be complete. And the Galactic Empire was finally beginning to understand the truth. Humans were never weak. They were waiting. The Galactic Empire had never been ignored before. They were used to anger, fear, and rebellion. They knew how to crush all three. What they did not know how to face was silence. Humanity had stopped answering. Imperial diplomats sent messages. None were returned. Long-standing emergency channels stayed dark. Even neutral systems reported the same thing. Human representatives were gone. Not hiding. Gone. This absence spread unease across the galaxy. Smaller empires watched closely. Old alliances began to weaken. Trade slowed. Space felt quieter. Too quiet. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, the mood had changed. The wide room that once felt powerful now felt exposed. Holographic maps glowed in the air, showing human movements, or rather, the lack of them. They surround us without touching us, one counselor said. This is psychological warfare. No, another replied. It is positioning. The lead counselor remained silent, staring at the display. Human fleets sat at the edges of key systems, not blocking traffic, not attacking, just present, watching. Every movement of the Empire was seen. General Elara Vance was no longer in medical isolation. She had healed enough to walk on her own, though pain still lived in her chest. The Empire allowed her limited freedom inside the station. They believed she was no longer dangerous. That belief was another mistake. Elara stood before a wide viewport, watching distant stars. She felt the hum of the station beneath her feet. She could sense fear in the air now. Not loud fear, controlled fear, Imperial fear. A junior officer approached her, unsure. Why are they doing this? He asked quietly. Why not attack? Elara did not turn. Because humans do not fight to prove strength, she said. They fight to end problems. The officer swallowed and walked away. The first real breaking point came 3 days later. An Imperial supply convoy entered a neutral system under heavy escort. It was a routine operation. food, medical materials, station parts. Halfway through the system, every escort ship lost control. Not destroyed. Frozen. Their crews watched helplessly as their systems shut down one by one. Power failed. Shields collapsed. Navigation vanished. Human ships appeared around the convoy. Clean. Silent. Perfectly positioned. A single human vessel moved forward and transmitted a message. This convoy will return. No explanation followed. The Imperial ships were released minutes later. The convoy turned back without resistance. News spread fast. Humanity was not attacking supply lines. They were choosing which one survived. The Galactic Empire called an emergency council session. Voices rose. Accusations flew. They are humiliating us. They are testing us. They are waiting for us to strike again. The lead counselor slammed a clawed hand against the table. Then we will not wait. Orders were given. A full Imperial battle group was assembled. Not a patrol. Not a warning force. A hammer. They would strike a human border world. Not to destroy it, but to remind humans who rule the galaxy. General Vance was informed. She closed her eyes when she heard. "You should not do this," she said. "This is not your concern," the council replied. "It will be," Elara answered quietly. The Imperial fleet entered the human system with weapons hot and formations tight. They expected resistance. They found nothing. The system was empty. No stations. No ships. No defenses. Confused, the fleet advanced. Then space changed. Human ships appear around them, not in front but above, below, and behind. The Imperial fleet was surrounded before alarms could finish sounding. Still, no shots were fired. A human voice spoke across all channels. "Calm. Clear. You have crossed into controlled space." The Imperial commander demanded surrender. The human response was immediate. Every Imperial ship lost power again. This time, they did not get it back. One by one, Imperial vessels were disabled, boarded, and secured. Crews were disarmed and treated without cruelty. No executions. No torture. Just efficiency. When the fleet was fully captured, a final message was sent to Galactic Empire. You are no longer in control. The shock was absolute. The Empire had lost an entire battle group without a single human casualty. No explosions. No dramatic war. Just removal. Back on the station, the council sat in silence. The lead counselor looked at Elara. "This is war," he said. Elara shook her head slowly. "No," she replied. "This is the end of war." The galaxy watched as news spread. The Empire was not fighting humanity. It was being dismantled. Carefully, patiently. Humanity had stopped asking for peace. Now they were enforcing it. On their terms. The Galactic Empire had lost wars before. They had never lost control. Control was their true weapon. Control of trade. Control of borders. Control of fear. For centuries, every species in the galaxy lived under that shadow. Humanity was tearing that shadow apart. System by system, Imperial authority began to fail. Not through fire, but through absence. Human fleets did not occupy worlds. They did not raise flags. They simply removed Imperial power and left silence behind. Governors fled. Garrisons surrendered without fighting. Communication relays went dark. The Empire tried to respond. Orders were sent, but they arrived late. Fleets were assembled, but they found empty space. Traps were set, but no one walked into them. Humans were everywhere and nowhere inside the Imperial capital. Panic spread beneath the calm surface. Citizens whispered. Military officers avoided eye contact. Ancient confidence cracked. The council met daily now. Their chamber felt smaller each time. "We must strike back," one counselor said. "A decisive blow." "With what?" another snapped. "They disable us before we even see them." The lead counselor said nothing. His attention was fixed on a single name. Elara Vance. General Vance had been moved from confinement to a guarded residence. She was no longer treated as a prisoner. She was treated as a problem. The council summoned her again. She entered the chamber slowly. her steps steady. Scars were visible beneath her uniform, proof of the shot that started everything. "You planned this," the lead counselor accused. "No," Alara replied. "You planned this when you fired. You are guiding them." "I am not needed anymore," she said calmly. "Humanity knows what to do." The council did not understand that answer. They had always believed leaders controlled outcomes. They did not understand humans' trusted systems, preparation, and shared memory. Humanity did not need orders. They needed permission, and the Empire had given it. The next blow came quietly. A massive Imperial shipyard, one of the oldest in the galaxy, lost power. Defense systems failed. Automated factories shut down. When technicians arrived, they found something worse than destruction. Everything was intact, but nothing worked. Human technology had rewritten the rules of the systems, not damaged them, changed them. The shipyard was useless. More followed: training academies, command stations, logistics hubs. The Empire was being hollowed out. Fear finally became public. Worlds declared neutrality. Old allies withdrew support. Ancient species began sending quiet messages to human space. Not threats. Questions. Are we next? Humanity answered them all the same way. No, if you stand aside. The message was clear. This was not a conquest. It was a correction. The Empire made one last attempt to regain control. They gathered what remained of their strongest fleet and launched it toward the human core worlds. This time, there would be no hesitation. Weapons were fully armed. Generals swore victory. The fleet never reached its destination. Halfway through the jump corridor, space folded. Human ships emerged from positions thought impossible. Their formation was perfect, their numbers overwhelming. For the first time, human weapons fired. Not wildly, not angrily. With precision, Imperial ships were disabled one after another. Shields collapsed, hulls locked, engines froze. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, the Imperial fleet drifted powerless. A human transmission played across every open channel in the galaxy. "We do not destroy what we can remove." The message repeated, again and again. Back on the Imperial capital, the council finally broke. The lead counselor slumped to his seat, his voice weak. "We underestimated you." Alara Vance stood across from him. "No," she said. "You misunderstood us." He looked up at her. "We're humans." She considered the question. "We are the species that survived ourselves," she said. Everything else was easy. The council surrendered that day, not with a ceremony, with a signal. Imperial command codes were handed over. Borders were opened. Military control dissolved. The Galactic Empire did not fall in fire. It ended in silence. Across the galaxy, species watched as human fleets withdrew, not to conquer, not to rule, to ensure balance. A new council formed, one without a single dominant power. Humans did not take seats of authority. They became watchers. General Alara Vance returned to human space weeks later. She stood before Earth's leaders, her voice steady. "The peace failed," she said, "so we built something stronger." Humanity had not taken revenge. They had rewritten the future. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson hidden in those 3 letters. HFY. Humanity did not rise because they were violent. They rose because when pushed, they finished things. The galaxy did not celebrate the fall of the Galactic Empire. There were no great parades, no loud victory songs, no burning worlds. There was only relief. For centuries, every species had lived under imperial order. It had brought stability, but it had also brought fear. Decisions were made far away by rulers who did not listen. Now that weight was gone. Human fleets remained visible across key systems, but they did not move aggressively. They did not occupy planets or demand loyalty. Their presence was calm and steady, like a guard who had no need to shout. The message was clear. The war was over. The work was not. A new Galactic Council was formed weeks later. This time, it was not held on an imperial world. It was held in neutral space, aboard a massive station built jointly by many species. Humans helped build it. They did not name it. They did not claim it. Representatives from dozens of worlds arrived. Some came with fear, some with anger, some with hope. All came with questions. What would humanity do now? General Alara Vance arrived quietly. No escort warships followed her. No ceremony announced her presence. She walked through the station halls like any other delegate. Still, eyes followed her. She was a woman who had been shot. She was a reason everything changed. When the council gathered, silence filled the chamber. No one spoke until Alara stepped forward. She did not stand above them. She stood among them. "We are not here to rule," she began. Her voice was calm, clear, and steady. "We are here to make sure no one rules alone again." Some delegates shifted nervously. Others listened closely. For 900 years, peace existed because people were afraid to break it. Alara continued. That kind of peace always fails. She looked around the room. Humanity believed in patience. We believed in restraint. We believed talking was always better than fighting. She paused. That belief did not change. A murmur spread through the chamber. "What changed," she said, "is that we learned silence can be more dangerous than words." The new council charter was simple. No single empire would hold total control. No species would be forced to kneel. No treaty would be enforced by fear alone. Defense would be shared. Decisions would be slow. Power would be balanced. It was not perfect, but it was honest. The charter passed unanimously. Across the galaxy, human fleets slowly withdrew from visible positions. Not all of them. Just enough. A reminder. Humanity returned to trade, to exploration, to science. Human children continued to grow up without war stories in their schools. That mattered most. General Vance returned to Earth for the last time as an active officer. Her injuries never fully healed. She carried pain with every breath. She never complained. At her retirement ceremony, there were no grand speeches, no medals shown to the public, just quiet respect. A young officer asked her a question afterward. "General," he said, "did you ever regret kneeling that day?" Alara thought for a long moment. "No," she answered, "because standing later mattered more." Years passed. The galaxy changed. Old borders softened. Old enemies talked. Some conflicts still happened, but they were smaller, shorter, controlled. Whenever tension rose too high, human ships appeared at a distance. They never interfered. They watched, and that was enough. The Galactic Empire became a case study taught in academies across many worlds. Not as a villain, not as a monster, but as a warning. Power without listening always fails. On a quiet evening, Alara stood alone on a balcony overlooking Earth. The sky was clear. Stars filled the darkness. She thought about the moment the shot was fired. How small it had seemed. How fast everything had changed. Humanity had not wanted this role, but they had accepted it, not as rulers, as guardians. Because when peace failed, humanity did not answer with rage. They answered with memory, with preparation, with restraint. And when the galaxy finally pushed too far, humanity reminded everyone why they had survived long before the stars. The final lesson spread quietly across space, spoken in many languages but always understood the same way. Humans do not rush to war. Humans do not threaten. Humans do not forget. And if you break the peace they protect, they will end the problem completely